Hello everyone, my name is James Ryan, and today I will be creating the robot path curving algorithm that I discussed in an earlier video. Today I'll be going through the motions of creating the program. First, I'll decide the next logical step of what feature to add to the program. Then I'll pause the camera and code that. Then I'll show the code I've created, briefly explain what it does, and demonstrate the new program. After that, rinse and repeat. I'll also be demonstrating some other programs I've created in the past as I borrow code from them, briefly explaining how they work or what they do, before adding one of the features from that program into the current one that I'm creating. So, without further ado, let's get started. Now, we have the blank processing screen. I put in the void and setup drawer. The first thing we're going to need is an input system. There's no point having a program that can operate on a bunch of data if there's no way to input data into it. Sometimes you input data into a program as output from another program, but in this case we want to be able to quickly draw our path in and then have the algorithm work on it and curve it according to our specifications. Now, luckily for me, I already have I already have another program that creates curves that has just the input feature we're looking for. So this is a program I created earlier when I was thinking about making videos on Bezier curves. Sorry, not Bezier curves, Bezier curves. I pronounce it Bezier for some reason. And as you can see, I can click points, and as I do this, it will generate Bezier curves. And it will actually show an animation of how the curve is created. I can also, as this animation is happening, drag the points out at will. It's a pretty cool program, and I think I did record myself creating this program. Maybe I'll release that as bonus footage one day if I can locate it. And in any case, I'll definitely have to go over Bezier curves and this program further in another video. But for the moment, the important part is the point creation, deletion, and manipulation, which will be essential in our program. So I'm going to copy and paste the relevant parts to our program, modify it, remove any references we don't need, add anything we do need, and I'll be right back once we're done. So I've copied and modified the relevant code, and let's go through it, what we've added step by step. So in the first part we have our variables. Now I've got a float variable d. This is just the diameter of the circles for the points as they are displayed. This is function square root of 2, and that is there. I don't remember exactly why that's there, but it's something to do with how collision detection works in this program. For the dragging, I've got SW. I think that stands for stroke width, so that's the width of the line strokes. Dragging, this holds the point that I'm currently dragging if I am dragging a point. X offset and Y offset are used in the dragging code, which I copied, which I think was inspired a little bit by the dragging tutorial on processing.com, because they have tutorials for dragging, so I just used that, sort of. And lastly, an array list of points, which stores the points of the curve. Now, we have 3 mouse pressed and released. So on mouse pressed, we either on mouse pressed down, we start dragging a point if we can. On mouse dragged, we continue dragging the point. On mouse released, we stop dragging the point. And on mouse clicked, which is different from mouse pressed, we either create a point, if we either delete a point if we're within vicinity of a particular point, or if we're not, we create a new point and add it to the end of the array. In setup, we have basic stuff. We create the size, we set the size of the processing area, an 800 by 800 pixel wide in this case. Might want to make that a bit smaller actually. We have fill, which we set to 0 so that all the shapes we draw are black for the moment. We set the frame rate to 25, this is some stuff that I've just copied over from the other program, just so that everything works, because some of the code relies on this. Ellipse mode to center, because that's how the ellipses are being drawn. Stroke to 0, stroke weight to SW, and color mode we set to HSB, which stands for hue, saturation, brightness. That's just because of how some of the code works. In the draw, all we do is do the background, refresh the background, and then draw poly, which is this function, which is the function that loops through the points and draws our lines. And finally, we have a function for getting the point that the mouse is at. This is used in the dragging and deletion functionalities. And finally, a class point for holding the points themselves. Now, let's demo the program. Let's demo it and see what all that means. So, if I press run, I can click to add a point, I can click to add another point, I can click to add another point, and another point. Then I can choose any point and start dragging it, and it updates in real time at the moment. It's pretty cool. And I can delete any point and it will go. Whenever I note that this point here is held in memory as the last point, so whichever point I add next, it will always be added to that point. So currently there's no way to reassign points, but I don't think that's quite important at the moment, so there's no way to swap them around. The last point is always the last point, and any points afterwards are added towards that. But the program works pretty good, so we should focus on what the next step of our programming should be now.